Okay, lads, I think the recording has just started. So we are having another history online lesson. And our introduction to history as the topic we are actually ending up is heraldry. So we passed through the basic description of various types of coats of arms, the rule of tincture, so what colors and metals can be used, at various symbols in here, but also what were the most famous heraldic symbols, from crosses to stars and tools and flowers and animals, people, angels, knights, and various interesting symbols and symbolism that is depicted at various, for example, counties in Slovak Republic. Of course, I asked you, in the test, I may give you a task about lily flower as a symbol of France, mining tools for, let's say, mining towns like Banská Štiavnica, keys of bishop's staff or hat, that these territories belong to the Pope, to the bishop, the archbishops, and so on. Okay, the next topic in here is actually the history of our state symbol that is on our flag too, and it is Slovak double cross. Very often these double crosses are called patriarchal cross, po slovensky patriarchálny kríž. The reason the patriarchal, it means the name or the title of the head of Byzantine Christianity, Byzantine Christian Orthodox Church. When you compare it to the Western, Latin, Roman Catholic, it's Pope, Papa, and Father in Latin, and in Greek, it means Patriarchos. And the reason is that in the 9th century, these double crosses, just like double-headed eagles, were used in Byzantine Empire. That led many Slovak historians to believe that this double cross was brought by Christianization mission of Constantine Methodius, Cyril Method. But there is a question mark. You know why? Because archaeologists have never found any double cross from the period of Great Moravian Empire and the times of Constantine and Methodius. And we have plenty of crosses, plenty of depictions, some depictions in Rome, but all these crosses are typical Greek crosses, not double crosses. So that's why for the first time when it's appearing, it is appearing in the Principality of Nitra. That was already part of the Kingdom of Hungary. Čiže kniežatstvo nitrianské, ktoré už nie je samostatné, ale je súčasťou Uhorska, a má takú krátku 20-30 rokov trvajúcu samosprávu, kde vládne princ, budúci Arpadovský kráľ. And these guys, they started to mint the coins. Do you know what does that mean, the mint? Mincovňač, ale aj raziť mince. And these coins, they are carrying this double cross symbol here at kind of like shield or coat of arms, but usually rings or in the coins. So obviously it was kind of territorial symbol of Nitra and Principality of Nitra. Later, these princes from Nitra became also the kings of Hungary, and since the 12th century, and maybe under influence of crusades, krížových výprav, it came to the symbol of whole state of the Kingdom of Hungary, či Uhorské kráľovstvo. Of course, various kings were combining crosses, but also adding these so-called Arpad stripes, po slovensky voláme Arpadovské brvná. And for example, they added this double cross on 3 hills. This is coat of arms of the Republic of Hungary today, but for many years, this was actually typical combination of lily flowers, of Czech lion, of these Arpad stripes and double cross of Upper Hungary, and it symbolically meant this thing. The double cross symbolizing Nitra and mountains of Hungary symbolizes the 3 mountains, Tatras, Fatra, and Matra. Matra nowadays is in northern Hungary, but historically it was part of this Upper Hungary, and there were also many Slovaks living in the past. These tribes, on the other hand, symbolize lower Hungary, Nížinaté, like plain part of Hungary, with large, big rivers of Hungary. The Danube, the Tisa river, the Drava, and the Sava. Yeah, Drava and Sava are actually rivers in Slovenia, Croatia, and Bosnia, Herzegovina, but historically they were also bordering rivers of Kingdom of Hungary. So that's why combination also the crown of the king, it became like this. because many towns that started to be established wanted to have support from the king, so they started to use even royal symbols, let's say Prešov, Banská Bystrica using these stripes, but for example Zvolen, Skalica, Levoča, and more than 30 towns in Slovakia started to use this double cross of Nitra, including Nitra itself. Interesting fact is that in Hungary today, you can barely find some towns with double cross. So obviously it is not only like regional territorial symbol, but symbol of towns in Slovakia. So that's why up to 15th century, during the times of the king Sigismund of Luxembourg, Zsigmond Luxemburski, who became also the king of Bohemia and the emperor of Germany, and he himself was from the Duchy of Luxembourg, Luxemburské kniežatstvo, and all these symbols are on this beautiful painting of very famous Renaissance painter Albrecht Dürer. You probably know this guy with like really long hair and depicted auto-portrait as a Jesus Christ. He also painted this portrait of Sigismund of Luxembourg, and this is interesting because at this time in 15th century, even written documents mentioned that there were like two Hungaries, Lower Hungary and Upper Hungary. And in these coats of arms, in this painting, these symbols are divided, separated. So when in 20th century, Ladislav Vrtel, the herald of Slovak Republic, the guy who actually made the design of Slovak coat of arms, he was looking for the oldest depiction of independent territory or like separated territory of Slovakia, and he found this painting. So that's why the design, despite the colors are reversed. So he used this design for our Slovak double cross. So when we come to the line of all these coats of arms, it will be the most similar to this one. So this is interesting, and that's why we can count to this. Then in upcoming centuries, it was combination in this form, but in the 19th century, when there was this period of nationalism and the liberation movements, for us, for Slovaks, it was led by Ľudovít Štúr, the Štúrovci movement. So they immediately, when they were thinking and establishing Slovak National Council, Slovenskú národnú radu, later Matica Slovenska, this cultural organization, they had no discussion what symbol to use because automatically they used double cross on 3 hills as a symbol of Slovak nation, and it became this national symbol. One thing they really changed was the color of the mountains. They changed from green to the blue color because it was typical color from 3 colors of Slavic countries like Russia, Croatia, Serbia. So all these flags were very similar, almost the same, and that's why even this one, Stanovi Matice Slovenskej, had these blue mountains, Tatra, Matra, and Fatra. Actually, Slovakia was separated from Hungary and formed as a part of the country and as a state symbol in 1918 when Czechoslovakia was created. Czechoslovakia introduced 3 coats of arms, 3 shields. This, the smallest, was the most common, in which the biggest lion is carrying small Slovak coat of arms in the middle. Not exactly in the middle, it is a bit shifted, so many Slovaks were not happy about this, but otherwise it had to be dominant. Bigger, larger coat of arms was having Czech line in the middle, Slovak double cross on one side, red bear from Carpathian Rus on the other hand, Moravia, Silesia. Even the big one with 2 lions around, but it was a combination of it. Actually, Czechoslovakia ceased to exist, and during the Second World War, Slovakia became not independent, but dependent on Nazi Germany, and our local fascist government was using as official this version of the symbol. It doesn't look very much like this medieval because it is like bordered out to outside, it is not cut to its inside, and also the mountains are not of this Romanesque round shape, but they are Gothic pointed arches, okay? And also it is a bit like narrowed. Actually, another symbols were used from double cross, and they were used by fascist military troops called Hlinkova Garda or Hlinka Guards, and you will see this emblem soon in a moment, in a while. Of course, fascists were defeated, and after the Second World War, Czechoslovakia came back to this emblem. But when communists seized power, they were angry about a couple of things on this original. Firstly, there was a royal crown. They didn't like kings and monarchies. The other thing was the double cross, symbol of Christianity. And communists, they actually denied religion as whole. So in 1960, when they introduced new constitution, a new name for Czechoslovakia, Czechoslovak Socialist Republic, until 1999, they introduced this communist emblem or coat of arms of Czechoslovakia. Firstly, they also didn't like the shape of these medieval, noble coats of arms, and they in Middle Ages they found one peasants army fighting for equality, hating rich people and monarchy and Catholics, and they were Hussites. Husiti používali štíty, ktoré nazývame pavézy. Pavéza, it means like shooting shield that from behind the shooters and crossbowmen could shoot from behind. So for communists, this medieval folk army was excellent. So they used this specific shape. Instead of royal crown, they put red star of communism. So probably Soviet Union was guarding the Czechoslovak lion. Three mountains, one of the mountains were already in Hungary, and Hungary was also a communist country. So Czechoslovak communists proclaimed, we don't need Matra in our coat of arms. Also, Fatra is too small. So let's have only one peak from High Tatras. Let's have Krivaň. And instead of double cross, they introduced this fire, a flame from bonfire of partisans, of brigands, Janošík, or maybe people calling for help. I don't mean Rohan and Gondor, but I mean other troops against Ottoman Turks. But actually many people didn't like it. Even Gustav Husak, Slovak communist leader, said that it's not a real coat of arms. It is more like Živanska pod Krivaňom. So like bonfire, barbecuing beneath Krivaň. Nevertheless, people actually somehow liked this coat of arms because our sportsmen at gymnastics, skiing were winning Olympic Games with these big coat of arms on white jerseys with ČSSR. And our ice hockey players or footballers were defeating Canada, Soviet Union, or Germany in finals of world or European championships. So this symbol became like a trademark, and many people don't see this symbol as a communist symbol of oppression, like hammer and sickle and star, but like emblem of our country when we were young. That is more like funny, to make mock, to mock. You can mock it, So many people wear it on the t-shirts, and it's not like swastika or having read this hammer and sickle. When communism, socialism fell down in 1989, there was Czechoslovak Democratic Federative Republic proclaimed, and when Slovaks were angry about previous coat of arms where Czechs were bigger, they were not equal. So this federation of Czechs and Slovak proclaimed this equal coat of arms with Slovak coat of arms made by Ladislav Vrtel according to the design from the 15th century. When, of course, Czechoslovakia split up, we have been using this beautiful designed coat of arms until today. And I can tell you one thing, in 1990s, when I was a teenager, there was popular neo-Nazi skinhead groups who were wearing so-called bomber jackets, and very often they had patches of this Slovak coat of arms. But when I realized some of them were wearing this one, and I knew that these guys, these neo-Nazi skinheads, were not educated, but they read more, and they knew that this is original coat of arms of this fascist Josef Tiso's regime of Slovak state. And this one is like a symbol of Democratic Republic. Why do you need to know that, lads? Because when I was at university, after the university, some people in Zvolen, in Banská Bystrica, started to march around the squares or Rimavská Sobota in the uniforms, reminding not only Hlinková Garda, but also Croatian fascist troops called Ustaša. And apart from their badges, they were wearing also insignia that completely, for me and many historians and every herald symbolized was actually the symbol of Hlinková Garda. People whose members were taking Jews to concentration camps in Slovakia. They helped to kill and burn villages, helping partisans after the Slovak national uprising. Hlinková Garda, just like Ustaša and any other Hungarian, Romanian, Bulgarian forces made just copies of NSDAP and SS forces of Nazi Germany. So this Linkova Garda and Schönemann wanted to be just like Adolf Hitler, Schutzstaffel or Sturmabteilung. So when many years, many decades after this, some people walking in the uniforms and wearing all these uniforms looking like fascists, for me, were fascists. Actually, first insignia of this Marian Kotleba's political party, Slovenská Pospolitosť, had also some fascist proclamations. So their political party was disbanded by the Kurd, but they changed only the color from blue to the green color. And still, for many years, they were using this emblem. I could argue with their fans over the Facebook in flame wars that that these guys are wearing this sign of Hlinka Guards. The same is greeting Nastraj, which is symbolically to Heil Hitler. And it got the same meaning for the people who are fascist or Nazi or neo-Nazi, hating Jews, hating democracy, trying to pull down the democratic system, replace it with some fascist or radical far-right regime. So yes, Marian Kotleba exchanged his uniform for a blazer from Tesco, changed the color, and 2 years ago they also changed this design because there is a Kurd with him and trial against him, and they changed it to the design of Ladislav Vrtel. So if you are still not sure, I added the link. I believe it will be working, which is an interview with Ladislav Vrtel himself, where he is explaining and giving his opinion about the symbols of, give me a moment, thanks, of this Kotleba People's Party. And because some of them claim that, look at Žilina, Nitra, they were used, but it's very different. This upper arm is shorter. It is cut to this direction. It is actually like heraldic symbol. So even he was like an expert called, and he compared, look at this swastika, Hungarian Nazi Nyilashi troops, Hlinka Guards in here. It's the same thing, because all these symbols wanted to be similar, remind the swastika types and fight them. So that's why Ladislav Vrtel also himself, he claimed this, that's him, claimed that it's actually obviously fascist regime, so fascist symbol. So that's why maybe you may not find it interesting, but to understanding how this evolution proceeds and how it is different of your village or of your town, it is very important. When you are wondering what is this, so for example, in Germany, it is forbidden even to depict these emblems. Of course, we are having educational lesson, so I show you also the swastika, and of course, it's not promotion of these regimes, but be aware of it and be sure you shall not use it. Okay, I'm not sure if we had a quiz with heraldic symbols. So when we meet at school again next week, if we haven't done this yet, so we will do this Quizmeister SK. You can guess the coats of arms of various towns. Okay, when I look at the time, we still have 15 minutes. Ak máte detské otázky, kľudne sa pýtajte. If not, we are moving to the younger sister of heraldry, or maybe older brother of heraldry, which is another auxiliary science of history, and it is called vexillology. You know this guy, Sheldon Cooper from the Big Bang Theory, this character, when I realized that he was a big fan of flags and he was having YouTube show Fun with Flags, I was really happy because I'm also a big fan of flags, and I found it really interesting as a symbolism and why people are capable adore flag or burn flag. And also in 2 episodes, he was wearing with Slovak and Czech flags because he was having troubles with his girlfriend Amy, and he wanted to show that they are going to split up like Czechoslovakia, and it is possible. So what is vexillology? Vexillology is the study of flags. V slovenčine môžeme preložiť 2 slovami flag, je to buď zástava alebo vlajka, a rozdiel medzi nimi je to, že jedna sa nastrkne na žrť a druhá sa priviaže o lánko 2 úchytmi a dá sa spustiť a vytiahnuť na žrdi. In English, it doesn't make any difference, and in Latin, this vexillum was Roman flag, that is maybe ready to call banner. Banner znamená štandarda alebo praporec, je to taká malá zástava, it's a small flag, and usually it was carried on the pike, on a spear of troops, in this case of Roman legions. That's why there is SPQR, which stands for Senatus et Populusque Romanus, the Senate and the people of Rome. The number of the legion, let's say 13, probably a bull, the symbol of god Jupiter, the bolt thrower of Romans, and maybe some quote of Victorix Marti, Mars, it's the god of war. And you see that these emblems, so these banners were used not only in Roman Empire, they were used in ancient China, in medieval Francia, Byzantine Empire, and so on. Later on, of course, when you were fighting in a battle, you use these coats of arms, but sometimes when, for example, Bohemia was fighting Poland, so it was pretty difficult to make difference and, hey, wait, don't fight me, let's see me, what's on your coat of arms, whether it is a lion or eagle, you know, so it was a bit confusing. So that's why for cavalry on their spears, and in the Navy, they started to use simplified piece of fabric, this banner, that was in the colors of coats of arms. Let's say Czechs had silver lion on a red shield, so their original heraldic flag was white and red. Just like Polish, the same. That's why they added blue triangle to make it different. Even our flag is actually heraldic because we got silver double cross, that's why white is in the top, red background, that's why red is in at the bottom, and we have additional blue color which we added this Russian form. When the medieval times were over, so they started to, like in 17th century, the flag started to be developed from the colors of uniforms. For example, Netherlands, the uniforms were white and blue, but they were fighting for the King William of Orange, and that's why their soldiers were fighting also with some orange ribbon or orange decoration, and that's why they added it to their flags. Sometimes in the Navy, in the seas, it was very difficult to make a difference between, let's say, British flag and French flag with the same colors. So, for example, Britain started to use very big, simple color like red for military ships and blue for civic navy. This is how, for example, flag of Australia or New Zealand, even USA came to exist, came to be with, they decorated it with some stuff in here. But let's say Germany or Italy, we're using these like uniform parts. There are various types of flags, not very difficult because in medieval ages they were using, for example, bordering. As you could see in this British flag, sometimes they add flag to the canton, which is this upper left corner. When there were more coats of arms, you can depict them in the quarters, for example. Of course, many countries using these crosses from, let's say, Greek cross like Switzerland, St. George's cross in England, for example, Scandinavian cross that was originally like this one, but when they stuck it to the spear, so there is still upper Latin cross arm moved to the left. Then is, for example, St. Andrew's Cross of Scotland or Jamaica. Since revolutions, Netherlands introduced these horizontal stripes, very easy to recognize, and since the French Revolution, they introduced these vertical stripes like France, for example. And then various forms with like bordering and divisions, triangles like Papua New Guinea, Czechoslovakia, Philippines, maybe South Africa, and so on, and many other flags. Even the flag of Nepal is not even squared. Now I'm going to show you some famous flags from the history that were influential and may give you the idea about the history of many countries and maybe the message that the country, the government want to give to the people. So what is the meaning of colors and of symbols? Because in flags, it is not so strict, not as strict as it is in heraldry. Let's have a look at heraldic flags. Of course, Poland. Poland had this like silver eagle on a red coat of arms. So this is like very simple heraldic flags used for centuries, for 1,000 years. For example, Ukrainians in the past, in Kievan Rus, they were using the symbol of Prince Vladimir of Kiev, that was a trident, trojzubec, in this very nice simplified form. And Ukraine, when they came to be in 1920s and again 1990s, they introduced this flag. It is derived from the colors, but in this way, it should be like blue at the bottom and golden in the top. But Ukrainians, just like many countries, decided to make a copy like symbolic of their landscape, because Ukraine is a big country with like beautiful, great plains with very fertile for grains and wheat, for example. So they actually symbolize like blue climate of inland Ukraine, of blue sky and golden fields of grain. So there is very nice depiction. Similar is the flag of Wales from United Kingdom, where is heraldic eagle, but they added also green color of their landscape. So it is not exact according to heraldry. The oldest flag in the world that is still used is the flag of the Denmark. Of the Kingdom of Denmark was actually the first kingdom from the Scandinavia Viking part that introduced flag, very simple flag, which was just silver cross on the red like flag. At the beginning it was turned down, so there was like Latin cross like this one, and later on when it was stuck to the pile, to the spear, so this like upper arm moved to the left. And because Denmark at the time was a very big kingdom ruling over all Scandinavia, so all Scandinavian countries introduced the same design, and even England, because England was occupied by Danes, so they were inspired by this. First kingdom separated from Danes was Sweden. Swedes took over the design, but they changed colors so they could be recognizable in the battlefield. And they used their coat of arms. You may have seen Swedish ice hockey team at the championship, Trekonor, with 3 golden crowns, and that's why their flag is in these colors. Finland separated from Sweden, later from Russia, took over the same design, but they installed the colors from their most common folklore costumes of people, which were like blue pants and white blouses and shirts. But at the same time, it symbolizes blue color of the sea and thousands lakes, and of course snow of Finland. Norway separated very late, like at the beginning of 19th century, from Denmark, and because national color of Norway is deep navy blue, because Norwegians were excellent navigators, so they just added this British style bordered cross, and inspired Iceland, who just reversed colors. For them it symbolizes deep sea, snow, but even fire from the volcanoes of Iceland. And Faroese only just reverted the colors. Country that was inspired by Danish flag, despite they would not like to admit it, was England. England started to use also crosses, but they reverted colors. So again, to be recognizable. That's why English, let's say football teams today, played dominantly with white colors, sometimes red. And this is so-called St. George Cross, flag of England, used since medieval times. Many of them mention that it's since Crusades, but it was not used at that time, so it is kind of like newer design from medieval times. England was invading Scotland very often. Scotland also had a heraldic flag like England with 3 lions. Scotland had 1 red lion. But in the battlefield, it was also difficult to recognize them. So they started to use their national colors, deep navy blue and white. And to make difference from England, they used this diagonal cross. This is cross of St. Andrew, because St. Andrew is one of the patrons of Scotland, one of the saints, and St. Andrew was crucified by Romans, just like Jesus Christ, but not on this T letter cross, shaped letter cross, but this X letter, like the Boltons from Game of Thrones. So this is combination of Scottish flag used even today. And when they were finally unified and conquered together, so they started to use this design for about 2 centuries. But also Ireland was added, but many Catholics were they hated English dominance, and despite many Scots were settling, especially Northern Ireland, bringing also Protestant religion, many Catholics were using their own different flag. But British introduced a flag for Northern Ireland and most of Ireland of those times. They call it St. Patrick's Cross, which is in the colors of England, shape of Scotland, but it was accepted only by these Protestant British settlers in Ireland. Still, in the times of Napoleonic Wars at the beginning of 19th century, British were afraid, what if Irish may ask France, Napoleon Bonaparte, for help? So they want to show Irish they are also part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. So they also added this Irish flag, Protestant flag, to the flag of Britain, but not to cover the Scottish colors. They are reverted. If you see that this is at the bottom, this is at the bottom, but this red is at the top. So if you ever try to draw or paint this flag, probably it was not looking perfectly because, you know, they are reverting, the colors are reverted. And it made a specific design and many countries use it because Britain, the United Kingdom, was ruling about 1/5 of the world before the First World War. Of course, Ireland got independence in 1921, introduced brand new flag that is derived from the French flag, which is very different. Don't forget that the British flag even today got its own nickname, which is called the Union Jack. Normálne zástava, ktorá má svoju prezývku unionistický Kubo. A to je ona. So, you know, it's like a trademark of United Kingdom. So then I mentioned the Dutch flag of William of Orange. They introduced this design. Peter de Haas told me that later on today, Netherlands, we know that they don't use this orange color, but the red color, because in the seas, the color had tendencies to go yellow, to go lighter. So that's why today they use the red color. But if you ever seen the Dutch football or volleyball team playing, so all people, or the Royal Day, King's Day in Netherlands, all people are dyeing their hair to orange and decorating everything orange color. The point is that this kingdom, our provinces, were pretty more liberal, open-minded. It was actually coalition of 20 states, and it was pretty democratic. So many countries of liberal attempts copied these horizontal stripes, like Hungary, Germany, and many, many others all around the world. So that is the Dutch flag of William of Orange. Actually, Netherlands was visited by Russian Tsar Peter the Great, who was looking for an inspiration how to modernize his country. And Netherlands was one of his favorite countries, and that's why when he came back for the civic navy of the Russian Empire, he introduced this color, which is actually Dutch flag with reverted colors. That's why this Russian flag became a model flag for other Slavic nations, that all of them were under the rule of Germans, Ottomans, Hungarians, Turks, and so on. That's why not only Slovakia, Croatia, Serbia, Slovenia, even Bulgaria took over the design, and if we kept the colors to make it different, so just like Slovenes and Slovaks start to use the coats of arms on their flags to make it different. Czechs are a bit different, but even Bulgaria, as you see, it's like they just replaced blue color with green, and that's Peter the Great, or Pan-Slavic, Pan-Slovanská vlajka. So that's why even Slovenians or us were thinking about changing the flag. Zvoní nám, the bell is ringing, so the lesson is over. Next lesson we'll continue with other flags of revolutions, anarchists, and many, many other countries in here, coming into even to Muslim style. Okay, so I stopped recording, so thank you very much. Bye bye, see you later. No,